Good morning, good evening, welcome everyone to the Saturday Sangha, the Shiva Sutras. So glad you've joined us. I'm John and I'm speaking from Damascus, Oregon.
Jai Gurudev. I'm Denise.
And Jai Gurudev, welcome everybody. So nice to have you and share this lesson with all of you. We can all learn something today, as we do each week. I'm George. I'm in Kathmandu, Nepal. Jai Gurudev.
Hi and welcome from Claudia, also in Damascus. Welcome to the Sangha.
And hello, this is Shauna. Welcome to the Sangha. Tell us where you're joining from. Hello, Rick. Nice to have you. And we have Suresh, Namaskar in Chicago, and Anil in Pune. Hey, Martin in Florida. And we have Steve. Good morning. And my good friend John Vossler in the desert. Hope you're enjoying. And we have much love to you. And we have Linda in Maine. Hello. Namaskar, Phage and Raj. Good to have you. And Susan in Tucson. Very nice to have you. Hi, Brenda in Toronto. And we have Bruce. Good morning. Looking forward to seeing you soon in Cleveland. Rosanna, hello in Italy. Thank you for your email. And hi, Paul in Texas. And we have Kanwal, Namaskar in Bay Area. Sonia, hello in New Hampshire. Ashok in Pune, hello. Hi, Lena in Germany. Good to have you. And we have Troy in Virginia. And we have Ed and Anne, hello in Ohio, and Iane in France. And let me go over the other names now. Good morning, Nick, Vivian, Luz. Hi, Leanne, Patricia. We have Ragini. We have Joseph and John, another John. We have 3 Johns now. And hi, Pamela, and Namaskar, Raj and Ranju, Daniel, and Vijayji. And we have so many other names coming up. So everyone, so good to have you. Welcome. And join us for the Agora mantra. Agorebhyo, Tagorebhyo, Gor Tarimyasha, Sarvata Sharva Sarvebhyo, Namaste Rudrarupemya. Agorebhyo, Tagorebhyo, Gor Tarimyasha, Sarvata Sharva Sarvebhyo, Namaste Rudrarupebhya. Agorebhyo, Tagorebhyo, Gor Tarimyasha, Sarvata Sharva Sarvebhyo, Namaste Rudrarupebhya.
O Lord Shiva, you alone transform yourself into all forms, into the forms of the powers of Rudra as Agora, the enlightening and uplifting energy, Gora Tari, the frightful darkening energy which pushes one down, and Gora, the energy which keeps one fixed, neither rising or falling. These forms embodied in Rudra Shiva are helpful to aspirants while they are aware, and frightful for the ones who are ignorant, pushing them down and down.
Jai Gurudev, everyone. Come join us for our meditation practice for the next 10 minutes or so. If you have your own practice, please practice that. Begin to sit comfortably, sitting up tall. Spine nice and long. And dropping into this practice with a beginner's mind. No expectations, just settling in. Gaze softening as you find a space on the floor to bring your attention to. Begin to bring your awareness to the natural free-flowing movement of the breath of the inhale and exhale. Breath moving in, breath moving out, observing. Now bring attention to the four parts of the breath. The inhale, slight pause, the exhale, and the slight pause. And rest here for a few breaths, just feeling into the rhythm. As you inhale, bring awareness to the space between the eyebrows. As you exhale, rest in the pause at the end of the exhale. Continue like this. Inhale, awareness at the space between the eyebrows. Exhale, resting in the pause as you carry this turning point throughout the practice. Continue. slowly surfacing from your practice over the next minute. Jai Gurudev, everyone.
Okay. So, okay, last week we finished off with, first of all, this is the Shiva Sutras for anybody that's joining for the first time. And we're up to the third awakening. And tonight we're going to start Sutra 40. So there's only 5 sutras to go till we finish the Shiva Sutras. And last week we talked about how, or explained how the yogi has to establish their God consciousness in the objective world. And there was one question last week that came up about what was the meaning of Nada Bhairava. The answer I gave was about how Nada Bhairava means who shouts out, but it wasn't quite in tune with what Swamiti was talking about beforehand. So there are infinite number of meanings of Nada Bhairava, and one of them is actually the 8 levels of sound of Bhairava that a yogi starts or begins to hear as they meditate and become more and more one-pointed. So I just wanted to clarify that because it was running around in the back of my brain. So verse 40, I've got something written here that it happens that when the 4th state, turya, which we talked about last week, how we have to allow that state of turya to penetrate the other 3 states of waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, which means that the gap between each of these states opens up, and turya, the state of turya, which is the screen behind that, is exposed. So there's some Sanskrit terms, again, that are going to come up in this one, which is deha, puryastaka, prana, and shunya, which mean the body or waking state for deha. Puryastaka means the dreaming state. Prana means deep sleep, and shunya means the gap. And another word which will be introduced here is anavamala, the feeling of incompleteness. But Swamiti explains it pretty well, and I'm sure there'll be some questions. And I would ask everybody not to get too carried away in the chat, because sometimes the chat reads like a book in itself. Try and just focus on what Swamiti's saying. And we all have a lot of knowledge, but we don't need to compare with those things at the moment. Give your attention to what's being said and try not to get on the chat when Swamiti's talking, okay? So, Claudia, over to you.
यदा तु अयमेव आंतर्यं तुर्यदशाम आत्मत्येन विमृश्यति. And on the contrary, when this internal state of turya is not concentrated and is not maintained but with awareness always, then dehadi pramadrita bhavat, then ego or I-ness, I consciousness on body, I consciousness on puryastaka, I consciousness on prana and shunya is there, and upurnam manyata atmaka anavamala rupat, then he feels himself as incomplete, all round incomplete. Then desire appears in him, and by that desire abhilashat bahirgati samvahasya, by that desire to fulfill his nature of being. There is a gap. He feels there is gap. It must be filled. So there is desire fulfill it, fulfill that gap in him. By that desire, bahirgati, his flow and his movement moves towards objective world and not towards subjective consciousness. Thus he becomes samvahya. Samvahya means he becomes carried. He is carried from one birth to another birth, from one death to another death. He is carried just like a beast. Shakti Chakra Adhishtatai. Carried by whom? Carried by those energies which are established, which have been established or governed by the supreme wheel of energies of God. And those are Kanchuka, Antakarna, Bahishkarna, Tanmatra Bhutai. Kanchuka, 6 coverings, Kala, Vidya, Rag, Kal, Niti and Maya. Antakarna, mind, intellect and ego. Bahishkarna, organs of actions and organs of senses. And 5 tanmatras, sound, shabd, sparsh, roop, ras and gandh. And by these he is carried, he is being carried from one state to another state, from one life to another life. What is that? The meaning is yoner yonyantaram niyate. From one womb he is carried to another womb by and by. Thus he is samvahya. He is being carried. He is not carrier. He is carried. In brief, he is karmatma rupa, pashu. He is pashu, just like a beast, dependent upon his past actions, past and future actions. Abhilasho malotrato. This is the mal. Desire is mal. Desire is dot, impurity. Yati Sri Sachhandokti Nitya Upurnam Manyatatmak Avidyakya Anavamala Rupat Abhilashat Hetor Bahirgati. By this quoting of Sachanda, Upurnam Manyatatmaka Avidyakya Anavamalat, that Anavamala which has appeared by Upurnam Manyata, by considering, by perceiving one's own self as incomplete. And when you perceive yourself incomplete, that is avidya, that is ignorance, and that ignorance is anavamala. And by that anavamala, abhilasha, desire rises in you, and by that desire, bahirgati, you are carried outside. You are carried in outside world, not internal world of spirituality. Hence, vishyon eva bhavati. So your consciousness is diverted towards worldly pleasures. Natu antarmukha rupa avhitattam jatichat. You cannot maintain, he does not maintain awareness for establishing antarmukha rupa, the nature of being introverted, being centralized in one's own nature. That is lost.
So there we are. That's the first present. That present incompletion. That mala, anavamala. That feeling of incomplete, of having non-fullness, needing something more to be full. You don't quite know what it is, but there's something. There's always something lacking, and so you go into the outside world to try to find that fullness in actions in pleasures of daily life. It's always trying to fill that void of feeling of incompletion, of non-oneness. Wonderful concept, actually. When you think about it, explains all the whole movement of the world of ignorance. Constantly trying to be full, to fill yourself. But the only reality that fills yourself is that the oneness of your own nature, that fullness of your own being. That's always full. I mean, it's incomplete. It's completely full. The question of fullness doesn't arise there, but because of this incompletion, it arises via this non-fullness. Then you feel incompletion everywhere.
There's one question came up.
So Jai has a question. He says, so what exactly is the barrier? Can you share some real life examples rooted in practice that would be barriers?
I think it's just, go on, John.
There's barriers, just the things of the world that grab you. Barrier could be the attachment to pleasure and pain. Attachment to that you want to have that rather than that. You need that because that's the only way you're going to feel full. You just have to have that fullness, in the world. There's so many things we have, but it's basically this feeling that we have this want to be complete, and we think that that's being found, and that's to be found outside in worlds and that worldly actions that we do. So we do one action rather than another because we think, well, that's going to help me out. I'm going to be filled. We're completed here. So that would be a barrier.
The other barrier is the illusion that we are incomplete. That's what anavamala is. Anavamala means mala, and it's mala, not mala. We forget who we are, and we live in this world of trying to find out who we are. And Swamiji says that this is Lord Shiva and Shakti's trick to play us into the world and create around us all of these imitations of completeness. I'll be complete if I just get the perfect partner. I'll be complete if I just get a new car. I'll be complete, Yeah, there's so many things. But he said all of these are searching for that total completeness, which can only come, as John just said, from the reality of our own being, understanding that we are that completeness. This is often called the play. This is the way. And if these mullahs, and there are three of them, are very interesting. If you go back to the very first, because as we were listening to this, I realized, wow, Swamiji just summarized the first 4 sutras of the Shiva Sutras. Chaitanya Mahatma, then Jnanam Bandha. This Jnanam Bandha, Ajnanam Bandha is anavamala. The third sutra is called Yoni Varga Kala Shariram. And Yoni Varga is called Maya Mala, and Kala Shariram is Karma Mala. So there are 3 different things. And the 4th sutra after that is Jnanadhisthanam Matrika. This, what he just said, that chakra which drives us into the world is actually the Matrika chakra, the universal wheel that takes us down into the world. So all of these, if you want to understand more deeply what they go back to the very first Sangha of the Shiva Sutras, and in the first 4 or 5 verses, the whole thing is summarized there.
Thank you, George and Dad. Let's go into part 2 of what we have prepared of Swamiji's.
Yeah, because part 2, he's going to elaborate more on this whole idea. What is the experience of the differentiatedness? And as John just said there, you start to feel differentiatedness, you feel pain and pleasure. So let's hear Swamiji on that.
It is said in Kalika Krami. Kalika Kram Shastra also says the same thing. Yat avidya vritataya vikalpa vidiyogata shivadin naiva jatyati samudbhavayate khilan. When that ignorance covers that self by the way of treading on vikalpas, then akhilan shivadin naiva jatyati samudbhavayati. He cannot perceive this whole universe beginning from earth to Shiva as one with God consciousness. He does not perceive like that. He perceives differentiatedly, in a differentiated manner. Then what is the fruit of that? Tata Shubha Shubha Bhava Lakshante Bas Kama. Tada shubha shubha bhava lakshante. Then he becomes the object of two states, good and bad. He becomes object of good and bad. Tadvashatata, by becoming object of good and bad, ashubhe beshchibhave bhya param dukham prajayate. He experiences in his own nature only pain. And that pleasure also he experiences as pain. Atathyam kalpanam kritva pachante narakadeshu. When your consciousness is established in that which is not real, atathyam, that which is not real. When your consciousness is established on that which is not real, then pachante narakadeshu. You become object of narak, hell, not heaven. Sothai doshaish dahyante venavo vahninayatha. It is just like the same thing, just as by your own impurities and your own drawbacks, you are lost, you are destroyed. You destroy yourself by your own drawbacks. Just like venavo vahninayatha, just like those bamboo trees, just like as they burn by their own fire. That fire is produced in them and they burn by their own fire.
These bamboos suddenly burst into flame.
Yes. Maya maya sada bhavair avidyam paribunjate maya mayim tanum yanti tejana kleshavajanam. Those people who enjoy the nature of ignorance, not the nature of spirituality, by adjusting in them, in their nature, those objects which are not beyond maya, beyond illusion. So they become, they take the formation of maya. Maya mayim tanum yanti tejana kleshibhajanam. And in the end, they are kleshibhajanam. They experience only klesha, only pain, sadness.
The constant search for fullness. I guess we're made that way, aren't we? And we're always looking in the wrong place.
We think that if we have this, we'll be happy. If we have that, we'll be happy. We always feel incomplete.
Even in pleasure, you think, oh, pleasure is something. But when you have pleasure, you always have the apprehension of the loss of that pleasure. You want it to be eternal pleasure. I think we have a sense of that something internally that is the guiding light. It's just that we don't grasp that light. We take the wrong turn and we're pointed outward, and we think that the final answer to everything is outside.
Swamiji once said a beautiful thing. He said, because somebody asked him about this whole idea of this mala and this ignorance. So he said, what's unique about Kashmir Shaivism in this? Because every other system talks about ignorance and talks about, that this same kind of concepts. And Swamiji said, yes, he said, but in Kashmir Shaivism, he said, it is Shiva who has woken up. Shiva and Shakti inside of each individual wakes up to begin to reveal the Shiva and Shakti which is inside. He said, once that happens, that it's really Shiva and Shakti, then that John calls it the unscratchable itch. It keeps carrying you in that direction. And you find that everything around you begins to change. But you're not you're not satisfied until you get to that point of realizing the fullness of your own nature. And he said that becomes your guru, that becomes your inner guide throughout your spiritual path. And somebody said, in Kashmir Shaivism, it's very lucky if you come to this path and you actually find that it's appealing to you, that is your own Shiva and Shakti inside you saying, okay, time to wake up, time to shatter this ignorance and realize your own nature, because that internal state is always there. We can't live with that energy of consciousness, which is in the hearts and minds of all living beings. But the wake-up call is the grace. In fact, he's going to talk about that, what happens to the yogi when the grace of that descends in the next verse. But I think there might be more questions. I'm not sure.
So there's a question here from Alexander, and he says, but it is also a vehicle of liberation. Once this movement of energies is realized from yoni to yoni, it is liberating. Energies tipping over from fullness to void and back.
Yeah. I think that's a more beautiful way of saying what I just said. Poetic.
I think it's good hearing it two different ways, because then it can stick better, right? It makes sense for different minds, different abilities. So thank you for that, Alexander. Elroy wants to know, but hasn't also Swamiji said that we should let the robbers protect our house?
The robbers protect our house.
I haven't heard that before either.
No.
Swamiji said that we should let the robbers protect our house.
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
No, he did say that.
Okay.
He said the thieves of the mind that drag us away, they're the robber. They steal our awareness. He said, so what you have to do is understand how the mind works. You understand that it's the nature of the mind to rob us of our awareness. It's the nature of the mind. So when you understand that and you don't fight with it and you just bring your awareness back to the point of watching your breath, because everybody has that experience. It's not new that when you start to meditate, you watch a few breaths, you watch the turning point, you carry the turning point, and then all of a sudden you realize you're not even aware that you're sitting there meditating. You're off somewhere with the fairies. You're off doing something, you're picturing in your mind. And that's the clue of keeping your eyes slightly open, which we talk about in our meditation class. But befriending the robbers means becoming aware during the practice, and they will protect you throughout the practice when you start to understand it's the nature of the mind to do this. Good point.
So one more question before we listen to Swamiji. Joseph says, George mentioned in his intro that turya has to be, and then he says, supplied to the other three states. Is this perhaps as easy as bringing the mood of meditation or other experiences of equanimity into everything?
I think it's a little different than that. I think actually it's the idea of where you have this nature of your own nature, this God consciousness, which is already there. That's to have that become real in all of your actions. So you experience your nature of your own being in everything. So you don't lose that. You don't have that. Just you're in the differentiated world, and that's what you're like, seeing one thing and another thing. But you still be in the world. You're outside seeing things, but that whole world is residing, and you experience it in the reality of your own God consciousness. So the oneness of your God consciousness is a thing that it's just, you hold it together everywhere.
And this experience of feeling the sameness or the oneness happens naturally. It isn't something that you can contemplate on it. But Swamiji would say that the most important thing is to establish yourself in practice. That is, during the daytime, practice in action. So practicing in action means that you're not going to have your awareness stolen by all the things that happen around us where we lose ourselves in the objective world. You you try to watch your breath in action, or you just keep your awareness in one point during action. Swamiji says, whatever you can do, if you go for a walk, be aware while you're walking. And that will spill over into your meditation, which will also spill over into your dreaming state. We talked about that last week. And that will begin to permeate to where you start to feel this pervading awareness in the background of everything that you do. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens, or it can happen overnight by intense grace. We can never say never, you know, it can happen to anybody at any moment. It's a big part of Shaivism because there's no prerequisite to grace. When Lord Shiva and Shakti decide to open up, that's it. We say the Agora Shaktis will drag you to God consciousness, whether you want it or not. And when you get there, you say, yeah, I want it.
Should we listen to the third part?
Yeah, because this is exactly what he's going to say. He's going to explain how it's when grace is infused in the awareness of the grace of Lord Shiva, what happens to that yogi. And it's just a very salient concept in Kashmir Shaivism to understand grace. So let's hear Swamiji.
Now on the contrary, next shloka. Yada tu parameshi shaktipata vashi unmishitam sam sabhavam eva vimrashyati. When on the contrary, the grace of Lord Shiva is infused in his consciousness. Parameshi shaktipata vashi unmishitam. And by that infusion, sam sabhavam eva vimrashyati, when he contemplates and realizes his own nature in true sense, then abhilasha bhavat, he destroys all desires in himself. No ase bahirgati, he does not move towards outside the world. Apitu, on the contrary, atma ramataiva nityam, he is always centered in his own God consciousness. That is what he explains in next shloka. Tadarud pramitesh tatkhyat jiva sankhya. That person, that fortunate person whose consciousness is established in his own real nature. Tat means real nature. Tat arud pramite. Pramite, consciousness. Whose consciousness is established in his own nature. Then what happens to him? Tat khyat. Desire vanishes in him. All desires vanish in him. Jiva sankhya. So there is no jiva. Jiva bhava disappears in him. The state of being individual in the individual is finished. Tathiti. He explains what is the meaning of tat. Puru nirdishta samvetratmani turipade. As previously in previous sutras we have explained that state of turya which is only knower, the state of knower, not known or knowledge. Only knower, the state of knower. Samvetri. Samvetratmani turipade. When auda tad vimarshana para premiti samvityasya, whose consciousness is established, in other words, tat vimarshana para, whose consciousness is fully aware in that supreme God consciousness. Then tatiti abhilashi khayat, then that desire is vanished. That desire which seemed to be existing there, that vanishes. Jivasya, and jiva bhava, individuality, is finished. Jivasya, what is the meaning of jivasya? Samvahyatmana puryastaka pramatri bhavasya. That state of being aware of puryastaka, state of being aware that I am puryastaka, I am body, I am organs, I am mind, intellect and ego. That stage is over. That means prashama. It is appeased, it is shant. Chit pramadrita eva suprati. On the contrary, his pramadrita, his consciousness shines in chit, in his own nature. Yaduktam tatraiva. It is said in that Kalika Kram. यथा स्वप्नानुभूतार्थान् प्रबुद्धो नैव पश्यति तथा भावनया yogi samsaram naiva pashyati. When one is experiencing the dreaming state and he perceives so many dreams, various ways of world of dreams in dreaming state, when he gets out of it, when he enters in wakefulness, then those all dreams vanish altogether. They vanish altogether. No dream is existing at all. In the same way, tatha bhavanaya yogi sansaram naiva pashyati. When yogi, a fortunate yogi, puts awareness in this way on this objective world of universe, that this universe is not objective world. It is only subjective consciousness, nothing else. And the more he puts awareness on subjective consciousness, he becomes one with subjective consciousness. So this imagination also becomes true for him. By and by, you put your awareness in this imagination that this whole universe is nothing but my own self, nature. Go on meditating on it in continuation, and time will come, you will become one with that God consciousness. Bhavana. Bhavana is not realization. Bhavana is to infuse awareness, to put awareness in continuity.
There we are again, this infusing awareness, and then making your own awareness permeate everything. That own awareness supersedes everything in such a way that, those things that you thought were who I am, they're not who I am anymore. I am not this body, I'm not this mind, I'm not this ego. That's your experience. Your experience is you are that reality. You may be in the world, and you may be walking and talking and doing things, but you don't experience that you are that, that I'm identified that I am this body, as I do. They say, I think I am my body, I'm so many years old, I'm this and that. That person does not have that. Limitation. So the awareness of his own God consciousness supersedes everything, doesn't it? Go ahead, George, sorry.
No, I like it. He says where that state, that bhava of the individual jiva is finished. He says that whole state of being a limited individual is finished. And I always am reminded, and I mentioned it many times, when somebody once asked Swamiji, I'm doing this, he said, and I can't wait until the day that I get enlightened. He said, I can't wait till the day that and Swamiji just said very clearly, he said, no, but you never get enlightened. And everybody went, what? He said, by the time you reach that state, you in your limited state no longer exist. You become just like Shiva. And through that grace, through the grace of Shakti, it's called Shakti Pata, the touch of Shakti, you go back to realizing your own nature, because it's only through Shakti Pata that you can realize Shiva. Shiva has nothing to realize. He's already fully realized everywhere in the whole universe. As Swamiji said, Shiva has nowhere to go because he's everywhere. But Shakti will carry you down and carry you back up again. So that was a shock when Swamiji said, no, you never get enlightened. He said, because by the time that you no longer exist in your limited state, you're now, and he said, because there was that thing, remember in the Shiva Sutras, John, when it was put down there that you become one with Shiva. He said, no. What do you say? You become just like Shiva.
It's like Shiva, good. I like that. Yeah. Yes. Very important point.
Yeah. He said, you become, and he said, and someone said, but when do you become one with Shiva? He says, when you leave this body and you have finished, and everything is finished, and you decide, or Shiva decides, I'm not going to come back. When Shiva decides that, I'm not going to come into this cycle of what we call samsara. He said, that's when you become one with Shiva. There's some beautiful little stories like that about Swamiji. Yogis can touch that state, but they're thrown back. They dive in the ocean of universal consciousness, but they're only there for a very short time, a few minutes or what, and then they're thrown back on the shore. And he said, but Swamiji, you're in that state of universal consciousness. And he said, no, I'm walking on the shore. He said, I have to walk on the shore as long as I have this body. He said, otherwise, who would teach you? He said, if I dive in that ocean, there's nobody to teach you. It's just beautiful little snippets in. It's all there in the teaching, and it'll come out with all. Probably it's already there in some of the vast library of knowledge that we already have.
So I have a comment here from Alexander. He says, but then there is no rasa without desire, no drama, no offering, no savoring. Question mark.
Yeah, it's not an empty state. That state of universal desire is full of bliss. It's full of ananda. It's full of completeness. It's Swamiji says, yes, the yogi is so overwhelmed by the completeness and the mystery of that experience when they first have it. They have to have, they have to transition into the normal state, because it isn't just some flat state of having no desires. It's universal bliss. It's ananda shakti, the essence of what flows out from consciousness.
Question from Barbara. I wonder, having just a partial experience of that God consciousness, is it possible? And if it is possible, does it do good or is it dangerous?
Can only be good.
Anytime you have experience of God, it's got to be good.
Yeah.
So, yes, George is just talking about that. A person gets it, has that experience for a few seconds or a minute. For that yogi who experiences that, it seems like a lifetime of experiencing that reality. But he comes back into the world. He lives that experience of having that reality of that experience. But yes, he had that for a moment.
Vijay has a question here. He says, what is the difference between bhakti and ordinary desire? Is bhakti not just another desire to be graced by Goddess Shakti?
Bhakti means devotion, basically, yeah. Swamiji said that when real devotion rises, the difference between real devotion and just desire, you can desire for many things and you can fulfill your desires, he says, but when real devotion comes, there's a clear sign. He said, in moments of intense devotion, he said, tears come out. You experience tears because it's overwhelming, and the dam of your own consciousness overflows, and it overflows in the expression of tears. Bhakti is always there in different forms. We have devotion, we have love, we have all of these things. And somebody once said, he said, if you were as devoted to, another one of Swamiji's classic one sentences, he said, if you were as devoted to your spiritual practice and your desire for finding God as you were to your first girlfriend or boyfriend, he said you would achieve very, very quickly, things on the spiritual path. He said how devoted we were when we first fell in love. He said it was everything. We were 24/7. We were just completely overwhelmed. When that comes up for your own spiritual practice, then you'll see, he said, how quickly you rise, because the grace for that comes from within you. And then he said, but we have to want it.
Mm. And the wanting it is the grace.
Yes. Beautiful.
So I think this is an important place for us to stop with the Sangha for today. And maybe the three of you can tell us a little bit about what our retreat that's up and coming entails, right? We have the Mahasamadhi that everyone can join. That's on Wednesday, the 10th here of the fire ceremony. We have a priest coming, and that's the Mahasamadhi. Everyone can join that. And then the next 4 days is a 4-day study retreat that we've been doing over 30 years, twice a year. during Swamiji's birthday and also during Swamiji's Mahasamadhi. And so I was wondering if the three of you could give us a little bit of what each day entails of this retreat that we're sharing via Zoom this time and hopefully in person next time.
Don't we have the schedule? Do we pass it out, the schedule?
We have a schedule,
already.
but I want to know from your point of view why the 4 days is a great retreat.
No, well, this
I can
is
tell you
fun.
what the schedule is. I have it memorized.
And then well, we start the day with yoga, your yoga.
Okay, but okay, go on.
And then we sit together and we worship. We have worship together, and then we meditate together. And then we're going to begin with our studies of continuing our studies of Tantra Loka.
Tantra Loka, which?
We're chapter 6.
6.
And what does that entail in chapter 6?
Overcoming time, understanding how time is different at different levels of consciousness, how 24 hours a day is what we live in, but as you transcend to go to deeper and deeper levels of meditation, and how time is completely involved with breath. So it breaks up the flow of breath, and it even measures the flow of time from days to months to years to 12 years to 60 years in breath. It's a very mysterious chapter, and so we're already up to verse 99, so we're going to be continuing with that. But we have a lot of time in that for questions, and there are other texts too. Shana, you can tell us what other texts we're studying.
Oh, Dad and George, you guys are doing such a good job. So wait, can't jump one part. So after lunchtime, we have what? Swamiji stories.
Stories.
Right? Stories
Yes.
of Swamiji's history. And they're, as you know, George is our wonderful storyteller, and we get to have him share more stories. And so that is that. And then after that, we have, what is it? We're listening to watching the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
And the great epic. And then after that, we have our hymns to Shiva, Shiva Stratavali, devotional hymns, tea time on your own. And then after that, we also have a couple dharna a day from the Vijnana Bhairava. George usually teaches one and I teach one or share one. And then meditation, and the day is done. So it's a full day. So if you can join us. If you need a scholarship or a partial scholarship, please email us. And it would be lovely to have you join. We usually have between 30 to 50 people that join online. And it's a wonderful place where there's discussion and questions, time given for that. And after 4 days, you feel different. It's how it is. So just wanted to invite all of you. And what else? Mom, Dad, George, because I want to say one more thing. Anything else you want to say?
Well, it's a wonderful time together in worshiping Swamiji.
Yeah.
Learning about Swamiji, teaching together.
And I get to stay up all night.
Hey, George, I don't know how he does it, but he does gracefully. And one last thing, it's Claudia's art class at 10 a.m. today, intuitive art class online. It's free. Join her. You don't have to be on camera. It's a really, each 2 weeks is different. So Claudia, tell us a little bit. And
Before we go there, Claudia, and tomorrow, which is the first Sunday of the month, we have our meditation class, which comes up at and also coinciding with the
those who have already done the 4-week class.
louder, Claudia, we can't hear you.
Oh, because I pushed it away. Which is for those of you who have already done the 4-week class. So we have a monthly follow-up tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock.
And coinciding with our retreat here this year, they're having a retreat at Swami Lakshmanjoo's ashram in Kashmir, because some of our people who are online now will be there actually for that 4-day retreat, and they're having people come in, and the subject that they chose this year, which was actually instigated by yourself truly, was the Secret Supreme. So each of the speakers is going to take a chapter of Secret Supreme and read up on that and explain it to the best of their ability, and they'll be having audios of Swamiji and everything. So that's going on simultaneously.
Different time of the day for this.
Wonderful. Yeah, wonderful.
Well, yeah. Yeah,
And is
because
okay, will it be in
yeah,
English or in Hindi, George?
a
A mix
mixture.
of Hindi and English. And
Yeah,
then
some
last thing, oh, go on, George.
And
Sorry.
will it be,
some speakers will be only there. So Claudia, back to
is it gonna
your.
be recorded though? Is there a recording? Do you know?
I have already put out a few. They usually do. They have a live stream on that on Facebook or FaceTime. There's
Facebook.
some things happening over here now where certain parameters, like in Nepal, for instance, they've just stopped FaceTime. They've stopped a whole bunch of platforms. Lucky they haven't stopped Zoom. Let's see. Okay, so
Oh, see.
And last
Shana,
thing, I just
back
want to
to you.
say, if there's any of you that want to join the meditation class monthly with us, you first need to take the 4-week class that we're providing for free that's online. You just go to our website and look up meditation and you just do the 4 weeks and then you can join us once a month.
Yeah, it's 1
Yeah.
hour, 1 hour each
1 hour,
session.
1 hour. Claudia, you want to add anything? End off? There it is.
No, there's no
Claudia put up her
skills
Zoom
needed.
link.
Someone asking for skills, just come as you are. There's no skills as long as you can hold a pen. You'll be fine. And just relax and be creative.
Jai Gurudev, everyone. See you at the Mahasamadhi. Next
Jai
Saturday, we
Gurudev.
don't have class.
Yes.
We'll be
Jai
back
Gurudev.
in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Jai
I'll send
Gurudev,
out an
everyone.
email. Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. Good evening.
Namaste Rudra Rupete, Ore Gyo Guru